The fallen stars. The stars were going out. Captain Xalari Hayes stood on the observation deck of the UES Valor, watching as the distant pinpricks of light that marked human colonial outposts flickered and died one by one. The Tyrans were methodical in their conquest, extinguishing humanity's presence across the galaxy with cold efficiency. Captain, the Centauri Defense Fleet has gone silent. Her XO, Commander Marcus Way, reported, his voice hollow with exhaustion. New Eden is lost. Xalari nodded, her jaw tight. New Eden had been home to 4 million colonists. 4 million souls now either dead or worse, harvested by the Tyrans for their ghastly experiments. 3 months ago, humanity had been a thriving interstellar civilization spanning 47 worlds. Now they were down to 7. "What's our status, Commander?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The Valor is operating at 70% capacity. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7 have been sealed. We've lost the starboard railgun battery and forward shield generators. Medical bay is overflowing. Engineering reports the fold drive needs another 6 hours for repairs. Y paused. "We're the last capital ship, Captain. The rest of the Terran fleet is gone." The Tyrans had appeared without warning from the depths of uncharted space. Their massive biomechanical vessels had sliced through humanity's defenses as if they were paper. Initial diplomatic attempts had been met with silence. The first human colony to fall, Proxima Prime, had been transformed into a processing facility where the Tyrans extracted something from their human captives. The surveillance footage recovered from the colony's security systems had turned even the most hardened military personnel pale. "They're not just killing us," Dr. Sato, the Valor's chief scientist, had said during the emergency briefing 3 weeks ago. "They're farming us, extracting something they call the essence. We believe it's related to human emotional capacity, something the Tyrans seem to lack entirely." "Captain," Wei's voice broke through her memories. "Admiral Chen is requesting your presence in the war room. They're gathering all remaining commanding officers." Xalari took one last look at the stars. She'd grown up on Earth's moon, Luna Colony, where the stars had always been her constant companions, her guides. Now they were becoming tombs. "On my way," she replied. The war room was a cacophony of urgent voices and holographic displays. Officers from the 7 remaining human worlds argued strategies and traded accusations. Fear permeated the air like a toxic gas. Admiral Chen, a weathered veteran who had lost his homeworld of New Terra just last week, stood at the head of the command table. His eyes found Xalari's as she entered, and he nodded grimly. "Captain Hayes, glad you could join us. Your experience with the Tyran ships at the Battle of Arcturus will be valuable." Arcturus had been a slaughter. Xalari had only survived by executing a desperate maneuver, flying the Valor through the corona of the system's star to escape. They'd lost half the crew, but they'd also observed something curious. The Tyran ships had been reluctant to follow. "Commanders, we're facing extinction," Chen began without preamble. "The Tyrans have systematically destroyed our colonies, our fleets, and our hope. Earth's defense grid is our last significant military asset, but projections indicate it will fall within 2 weeks once the Tyrans regroup." A holographic display of Earth appeared above the table, surrounded by defense platforms and the remnants of the home fleet. It looked pitifully inadequate against the incoming Tyran armada, represented by red markers at the edge of the system. "We've analyzed all encounters with the enemy," Chen continued, "and we found one consistent weakness." He nodded to Dr. Sato, who stepped forward. The scientist's eyes were rimmed with red from lack of sleep. "The Tyrans avoid stars, particularly those in active phases." Captain Hayes' report from Arcturus confirmed what we suspected from other engagements. Their biomechanical technology is vulnerable to certain radiation spectrums. Dr. Sato manipulated the hologram to show a Tyran vessel. Their ships are partially organic, with a neural network similar to a central nervous system. This network appears highly sensitive to specific solar radiation. "So we lure them into a star. asked Colonel Rivera of the Mars Defense Force. That's suicide for us too. Not exactly, said Chen. Dr. Seto's team has developed a method to replicate and amplify the specific radiation that affects their ships. We're calling it Project Sunforge. Dr. Seto brought up new schematics showing a massive device. This is a solar amplifier. It concentrates and modifies solar radiation, converting our sun into a weapon that specifically targets Tyran biomechanics. The radiation is harmless to humans and our technology. A murmur went through the room. For the first time in months, Xalari felt a spark of hope. There's a catch, Chen continued, silencing the room. The device must be positioned at specific coordinates within the sun's corona. It will require a ship to carry it there, hold position during activation, and the ship and crew won't survive the process. Silence fell over the war room. I'll do it, Xalari said before she could reconsider. The Valor's fold drive can get us close enough, and our shields might hold long enough to deploy the device. Chen's eyes met hers, a mixture of respect and sorrow in his gaze. I expected you might volunteer, Captain Hayes. The Valor is our most advanced remaining vessel, and you've proven your ability to navigate stellar coronas. The meeting continued with technical details, deployment plans, and the coordination of Earth's remaining defenses to hold the Tyrants at bay long enough for the Sunforge to be completed. But Xalari's mind was already with her crew. How would she tell them that their next mission was their last? Hours later, Xalari stood before the assembled crew of the Valor. 700 faces looked back at her. Engineers, tacticians, doctors, pilots. Many were barely out of training, rushed into service as the war decimated experienced personnel. I won't lie to you, she began. Our mission is a one-way trip, but it's also humanity's last hope. She explained Project Sunforge, watching as understanding dawned on their faces. There was fear, yes, but also determination. They had all lost homes, friends, family to the Tyrants. This was a chance for revenge, for purpose. Participation is voluntary, she concluded. Those who wish to remain behind will be transferred to Earth's Defense Force. I need your decision within the hour. Xalari turned to leave, but a voice stopped her. Engineer Patel, a young woman from the colony of New Mumbai, which had fallen 2 months ago. Captain, she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. I lost my entire family when New Mumbai fell. If this gives us a chance to stop the Tyrants, I'm in. One by one, others spoke up. A navigations officer who had watched the destruction of Proxima Prime on a long-range scanner. A medical technician whose fiancé had died defending Ta City. A security officer who had grown up on a colony now reduced to ash. In the end, not a single crew member requested transfer. The Valor would fly with a full complement. As they prepared for their final mission, Xalari received a message from Admiral Chen. The Tyrants had accelerated their timetable. The main fleet would reach Earth in 3 days, not 2 weeks. The Sunforge was being rushed to completion, but it would be close. The engineering bay had been transformed into an assembly area for the Sunforge device. Dr. Seto personally oversaw its installation, working alongside the Valor's engineers. The device was massive, taking up nearly a quarter of the ship's cargo space. The mechanics are relatively simple, Dr. Seto explained as Xalari inspected the progress. The complexity is in the timing and positioning. You'll need to hold station at these exact coordinates. She handed Xalari a datapad with the navigational data. That's deep in the corona, Xalari noted, studying the numbers. Even with our reinforced shields. You'll have approximately 6 minutes before shield failure, Dr. Seto confirmed. The Sunforge needs 5 minutes and 20 seconds to fully activate and stabilize the reaction. 40 seconds to spare. It would be close. On the eve of their departure, Xalari made her rounds through the ship. In the mess hall, off-duty crew shared stories and memories. In the barracks, some slept while others wrote final messages to loved ones. In engineering, Patel and her team worked tirelessly to squeeze every last bit of performance from the Valor systems. Ilara's final stop was the memorial wall near the bridge, where the names and images of fallen crew members were displayed. She touched the photo of her former XO, Lieutenant Commander Diaz, lost at Arcturus. "We'll make it count," she promised quietly. As the Valor prepared to depart Earth's orbit, the remaining defense fleet formed an honor guard. Ships that should have been conserving fuel for the coming battle ignited their engines in salute as the Valor passed. Ilara took her position on the bridge, Commander White at her side. "All stations report ready, Captain," he said. "The Sunforge is secure and Dr. Sato reports all systems nominal." "Very well," Ilara replied. "Helm, set course for solar coordinates. Prepare for fold jump on my mark." The stars stretched as the Valor accelerated to fold velocity. In moments, they would be committed to their final mission. Ilara thought of Luna Colony, of watching the Earth rise over the lunar horizon as a child, dreaming of sailing among the stars. She had never imagined it would end like this. But if her death meant Earth would survive, that future generations would have their chance to dream and explore, it was worth it. "Fold drive engage," reported the helm officer. The Valor leaped into the fold, leaving Earth behind. Ahead lay the sun, and humanity's last hope for survival. Valor's gambit. The fold transition was rougher than usual, the Valor shuddering as it emerged near the solar corona. Immediately, warning alarms blared across the bridge as the ship's outer sensors registered the overwhelming heat and radiation. "Shields at maximum," Commander Wei reported, "holding at 94%. Surface temperature rising, but within acceptable parameters." Ilara studied the tactical display. They had emerged exactly where they needed to be, a region of the sun's corona with the precise radiation profile required by the Sunforge. The swirling plasma of the corona surrounded them, beautiful and deadly. "Begin Sunforge deployment sequence," she ordered. "Helm, maintain position within tolerance zone delta." The ship rumbled as massive mechanical arms extended from its hull, positioning the Sunforge device. On the engineering deck, Dr. Sato and her team worked frantically to calibrate the device to the local solar conditions. "Captain," Communications Officer Park called out, "we're receiving an encrypted transmission from Earth Defense Command." "Put it through," Ilara replied. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared, his expression grim. "Captain Hayes, the situation has deteriorated. The Tyran fleet has divided. Their main force continues toward Earth as expected, but a second group has altered course. They appear to be heading directly for your position." Ilara felt her blood run cold. "They know what we're planning." "It appears so. Our intelligence suggests they detected the Sunforge's unique energy signature during its construction. We've dispatched what vessels we can spare to intercept, but you should expect company within 40 minutes. 40 minutes? The Sunforge needed at least 30 to complete its activation sequence. "Understood, Admiral. We'll hold them off as long as necessary." Chen's expression softened slightly. "The entire human race is counting on you, Ilara. Earth will never forget your sacrifice. Just make sure there's still an Earth to remember us," she replied. Valor out. Ilara turned to her bridge crew. "You heard the Admiral. We have company coming. Tactical, prepare all remaining weapon systems. We need to keep them off us until the Sunforge activates." Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, the tactical officer, nodded grimly. "With respect, Captain, our weapons will be like throwing rocks at a mountain against Tyran vessels." "Then we'll throw every damn rock we have," Ilara replied. "And we have one advantage. They won't want to destroy us outright. The Sunforge is useless without the precise positioning we're maintaining. They'll try to disable us or push us out of position first." This gave them a chance, however slim. The Tyrans would have to be careful in their assault, at least initially. Down in engineering, Dr. Sato reported that the Sunforge was deployed and beginning its pre-activation sequence. 28 minutes to full activation, Captain," she reported. "Understood, Doctor. Keep at it." Time seemed to crawl as they waited, the corona swirling around them like a living thing. Xalari used the time to prepare, positioning their damaged railgun batteries for maximum coverage and plotting evasive maneuvers that would maintain their crucial position while making them a harder target. "Contact," announced the sensor officer. "Multiple Tyrant vessels detected at extreme range. Current count is 7 ships, 2 heavy cruiser analogs, and 5 escort-class vessels." Sooner than expected, Xalari studied the tactical display. The Tyrant ships were approaching in an attack formation, their biomechanical vessels resembling massive predatory creatures. "Time to Sunforge activation," she demanded. 22 minutes remaining, Captain," came Dr. Seto's response. "Too long. The Tyrants would reach them in less than 10 minutes. Commander Wei, contact Earth Defense Command. Request any available support. Even if they can't reach us in time, perhaps they can divert the Tyrants' attention." We nodded and moved to the communication station. Moments later, he returned. "Captain, 6 ships have broken formation from Earth's defense fleet. They're attempting to intercept the Tyrant squadron, but they won't arrive for 18 minutes. It would have to be enough." "All hands, battle stations," Xalari ordered. "This is what we trained for. Keep them busy, keep them distracted, and buy the Sunforge the time it needs." The Tyrant ships closed rapidly, their organic-looking hulls gleaming in the solar light. The 2 larger vessels held back while the 5 smaller ones accelerated toward the Valor. "They're trying to surround us," noted Ortiz. "Classic flanking maneuver." "Target the lead vessel," Xalari commanded. "Fire when ready." The Valor's remaining railgun battery thundered to life, sending hypervelocity rounds streaking toward the approaching Tyrant ship. Most impacted against its energy field, but a few penetrated, tearing chunks from its biomechanical hull. The wounded ship faltered momentarily, black ichor spilling from its injuries before an organic-looking membrane sealed the wounds. The Tyrant squadron altered their approach, becoming more cautious. "They're within range of their primary weapons," Wei warned. The Tyrant vessels fired in unison, their weapons launching what appeared to be living projectiles, glowing orbs of energy encased in organic shells. The Valor's shields flared as they impacted. "Shields down to 60%, reported the engineering station. "We can't take much more of that." Xalari gripped her command chair. "Helm, evasive pattern Theta 3. Maintain position within the tolerance zone." The Valor lurched as it executed a complex series of maneuvers while staying within the crucial area needed for the Sunforge. The next volley from the Tyrants mostly missed, but one hit scored directly on their weakened starboard section. "Hull breach on Deck 7. Wei called out. "Emergency force fields engaged." "Time to activation," Xalari demanded. 15 minutes, Captain," Dr. Seto replied, her voice strained. "But we have a problem. The last hit damaged some of the calibration equipment. I need to make adjustments manually." "What does that mean, Doctor?" "Someone needs to enter the external housing to realign the primary emitter array. In this environment, even with a shielded suit, they'll have approximately 2 minutes before fatal exposure." Before Xalari could respond, Engineer Patel's voice came over the comm. "I've already suited up, Doctor. Guide me through the procedure." "Patel, negative," Xalari began, but the engineer cut her off. "With respect, Captain, there's no time to argue. The rest of you need to focus on keeping the Tyrants off our backs. I can do this." Xalari closed her eyes briefly, another sacrifice in a war that had demanded too many. "Proceed, Engineer Patel. And thank you." As Patel prepared for her fatal mission, the Valor continued its desperate battle. The Tyrant ships had surrounded them now, firing from multiple angles. The shields were failing rapidly, and several decks reported fires and casualties. "Captain," Wei shouted over the noise of another impact. "The reinforcements from Earth. They've engaged the Tyrant heavy cruisers." On the tactical display, Xalari saw the 6 human vessels that had broken away from Earth's defense fleet. They were small, mostly corvettes and frigates, but they fought with desperate courage, harassing the larger Tyran vessels and drawing fire away from the Valor. "Patil has reached the emitter array," Dr. Sato reported. "Beginning realignment now." Another hit rocked the ship. "Shields at 30%, came the damage report. "Multiple hull breaches. We're venting atmosphere on decks 3 through 5. "Seal those sections," Ilara ordered. "Reroute power from non-essential systems to the shields." On the external cameras, Ilara could see Patil working on the Sunforge's exposed components. The engineer's shielded suit was already showing signs of degradation, the outer layer bubbling from the intense heat. "Alignment at 60%, Dr. Sato called out. 70, 80. Another Tyran barrage hit the Valor directly. The bridge lights flickered and several consoles exploded in showers of sparks. "Shields failing," we shouted. 8% remaining. "Alignment complete." Dr. Seto's voice was triumphant despite the chaos. "Patil did it. Sunforge charging, 9 minutes to activation." On the external feed, Ilara watched as Patil's suit finally gave way to the solar radiation. The engineer made no attempt to return to the airlock. Instead, she simply raised her hand in a final salute before the feed went static. "Helm, evasive pattern Omega," Ilara ordered, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We need to buy those 9 minutes." The Valor twisted desperately among the Tyran vessels, its remaining weapons firing continuously. The human reinforcements had managed to destroy one of the Tyran heavy cruisers, but had paid dearly. Only 2 of the 6 ships remained operational. 5 minutes to Sunforge activation, Dr. Sato reported. A massive impact sent Ilara sprawling from her chair. When she regained her feet, half the bridge was in darkness, smoke filling the air. "Shields gone," Y coughed, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. "Hull integrity failing across all decks. We're being boarded, Captain." Tyran boarding parties reported on decks 6 and 9. Ilara helped her XO back to his station. "Security teams to repel boarders. Everyone else, hold your positions. We're almost there." 3 minutes to activation, came Dr. Seto's increasingly desperate voice. "The Sunforge is drawing power, but the main reactor is failing. We're rerouting to auxiliary power, but I'm not sure it will be enough." On the tactical display, Ilara saw the Tyran ships moving to surround them completely. They were preparing for a final, coordinated strike that would destroy the Valor before the Sunforge could activate. "All power to the Sunforge," Ilara ordered. "Shut down life support, gravity, everything. Give Dr. Sato every watt we have." The bridge darkened further as systems shut down. Gravity failed, and the crew grabbed onto their stations to avoid floating away. The temperature began to plummet as life support shut down. 2 minutes, Dr. Sato reported. "Power levels, holding." The Tyran boarders had reached the deck below the bridge. Security's reports became increasingly desperate as they were overwhelmed by the alien invaders. The Tyrans moved with a cold efficiency that was terrifying to behold, not killing the humans they encountered, but subduing them for later harvesting. 1 minute, came Dr. Seto's voice, now barely audible over the failing communication system. The bridge door buckled as the Tyrans began forcing their way in. Ilara and the remaining bridge crew drew their sidearms, preparing for a final stand. 30 seconds, Dr. Sato whispered. The door gave way. Tyran soldiers poured onto the bridge. Tall, pale creatures with too many limbs and faceless heads. Their bodies seemed part organic, part mechanical, moving with unnatural grace in the zero gravity. 10 seconds, came Dr. Seto's final transmission. Ilara fired her weapon at the approaching Tyrans, knowing it was futile. Beside her, Wei and Ortiz did the same. The aliens advanced implacably, unaffected by the barrage. 5, 4, 3. A Tyran reached for Ilara, its elongated fingers almost touching her face. 2, 1. The Sunforge activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the sun itself appeared to pulse, a wave of golden energy expanding outward from the Valor's position. The energy passed through the human ship harmlessly, but when it reached the Tyran vessels and soldiers, they convulsed as if in agony. The Tyran on the bridge collapsed, their biomechanical bodies seizing as the specialized radiation attacked their neural networks. On the tactical display, the surrounding Tyran ships writhed like wounded animals. "It's working," Y breathed, his voice filled with wonder. The energy pulse continued to expand, accelerating as it spread. Soon it would reach the main Tyran fleet approaching Earth, and beyond that, to every Tyran ship and base in the solar system. Ilara watched as the Tyran ships nearest to them began to disintegrate, their organic components breaking down under the Sunforge's relentless energy. It was beautiful, in a way, like watching deadly predators return to the stardust from which they came. "Captain," Dr. Seto's voice came unexpectedly over the comm. "The Sunforge's effect is greater than we anticipated. The reaction is self-sustaining. It's creating a cascade that will spread through subspace, following the Tyran's own faster-than-light wake signatures. It will reach all of them, everywhere. Everywhere. Not just those threatening Earth, but every Tyran ship and base across the galaxy. The harvest would end, not just for humanity, but for any other species the Tyrans have been preying upon." Ilara smiled despite the pain of her injuries. "That's good news, Doctor." "There's more," Seto continued. "The reaction is sustaining the Valor systems somehow. Our power levels are stabilizing. We might actually survive this, Captain."